Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Psychic Soul Healer channel. My name is Laura, and I'm going to do a general message for you all. That's just my incense going. You see, I got like a nice. No, nothing. It triggers the olfactory nervous system like a thing of incense. Smell, right? Smell helps us transcend time and space. It's actually very healing because a lot of times we don't even remember what we've gone through in our life, right? Like when it's traumatic experiences, you'll find that you forgot pieces of the actual experience. And so they call that like soul fragmentation, that parts of yourself have become unconscious. And those parts of self that we have forgotten about, we've actually detached from, disassociated from, we need to still integrate in order to heal the spiritual imbalance, because everything that happens in the spiritual realm happens because of our thoughts, right? Because again, we're only in physical form to learn and to manifest. And we learn through karmic experiences. So here at the Psychic Soul Healer channel, I always look at the karmic themes first. The karmic themes that make us feel like there's something wrong with us. That a lot of times we go through experiences that we feel victimized. We feel that things were unfair. A lot of times they were, depending on how you look at a situation. Everything is perception. So healing is all about integrating the spiritual lessons so you can actually see a different perception of yourself and the experience. And a lot of times smell can help us do that. Again, when the sense of smell, it helps us astral travel. It helps me anyway, astral travel. So I wanted to open up this session with a 8-card spread from my Psychic Soul Healer Oracle system, and then go into your storyline. Why? Because again, it's all about healing ancestral karma. It's all about not just healing it so that you can create your own heaven on earth, but so that you can find your gifts, you can find your soul's purpose, and that connects you to your tribe. That's how you really create your heaven on earth. Everyone's heaven on earth is going to be different, right? Because we're all uniquely different. We live in a society that tells us how we should be, and we all tend to say, well, I want to live comfortably. I'd like to live in this type of house or this type of car. We all have our individual styles. However, we all pretty much want the same things when it comes to, we want to feel love. We want to feel safe. We want to feel supported. Trauma comes from not feeling safe. And that doesn't just mean safe in your environment, but it also means safe within your relationships. It's really important, because when we don't feel safe in our relationships, then we are focused on everything else except for what we're supposed to be doing. So, and what are you supposed to be doing, you may be asking? You're supposed to be trying to create your heaven on earth. You're supposed to be becoming yourself, creating yourself. And we all have a unique expression of self, because all we are is consciousness, really. If you want to know, this physical body will one day die, but the spiritual lessons that you learned and the consciousness that you are remains the same. It goes back to source. You are one, and you're connected not just to other people, but also through, source, through your creator. And so we're all connected. Sickness and disease actually comes from disconnection from self, disconnect from others and a disconnection from God. See, God gives us that foundation of saying, well, why are we here? What the hell is the point? Why are we here? You know? And we're here to learn about love, un- unconditional love. And unconditional love is comes in many different forms. It comes in many, and so a lot of us want to put titles and restrictions, and religion tends to do that too. And so anything that cuts us off from love really is is what becomes the problem. Because when we cut ourselves off from love, we're actually cutting ourselves off from nature. And so the whole point of why we're here is we're supposed to learn all the different ways that love is expressed, because all God is the universe. But who the hell knows what the universe is? We think that it's air, right? and but really it's a consciousness, it's an energy. Everything's energy, everything vibrates at its own frequency. So God is the most unconditional love. It's the highest vibration of all. We wouldn't know what that was. So it comes in the form of consciousness. And that would look like forgiveness, self sacrifice. It would come as courage. It would come as all these traits that show the best part of ourself. However, a lot of times our experiences unfold in our life and we don't act in the best way. A lot of times we don't, because we come from a place of fear. And fear keeps us limited, and it keeps us, again, detached. So it's not just about learning what your person's going to do, because we will obviously look into what your relationships are all about here. It's not like I would never, because your spiritual lessons unfold within your relationship karmas, right? I mean, would we even know about ourselves? How would we know what we like? How would we know what we didn't like, unless, like we had some sort of comparison, right? And that a lot of times comes through a soulmate. Teaches us, again, to shift your consciousness. All right. So if you're new to my channel, anything that you need to know about the channel, you can find in the description box below. All important links. I really need to probably update it. Really, the most important link is my website link, pureenergyhealer.com. And the reason why is there you can see all my upcoming events. You can see, you can be on all my different YouTube channels. I have 3. One of them is actually my TV show link. A lot of times I'll put my show on. Eventually I'm going to have speakers on that channel. Because it's all about raising the planet's vibration, and that's through consciousness. It's through what we know. It's through what we take in. And so a lot of times we can be born into families that teach us that we're limited, and they teach us that we're limited by how they treat themselves, how our parents treated themselves. So just because a parent may not be saying, hey, listen, drink this alcohol, they're not saying that. They show they dealt with stress through drinking alcohol. That's the behaviorism that comes from a trauma, right? When we want to disconnect. So a lot of times spiritual disease will show up as addiction. And again, anything that takes us away from ourselves, that makes us like suppress energy, becomes repressed energy, and over time cancer is developed. So when you integrate the spiritual lessons, you actually expand consciousness and you're able to heal yourself. And that's why you always want to look at the spiritual karmic lessons first, because that's going to dictate why a certain experience actually unfolds to begin with. And if you don't like that experience, you have the opportunity to shape shift that experience into an experience that's going to work better for you. You're going to know how to handle it. It's all about realizing the creative genius inside. The creative genius inside of us is intuitive. It's creative. It's not logical of the logical mind. It's of the intuitive mind. So, as I said, I wanted to open up with the ancestral one because it's all about healing, and then we'll look into the why you're probably here, which is I just want to know about my my boyfriend, whether my boyfriend's coming back. And what I got to say is if your boyfriend's in and out, in and out, in and out, yeah, they'll be back, but who cares? Because the more time that they come back like that, nothing ever gets done. Then what happens is intimacy problems occur, trust problems happen. So it's about healing because you don't want to get it to a point where your relationships on, off, on, off, on, off. You don't want to be dealing with it after you lost the job, after you reacted a certain way. Karma is all about your reactions. It's all about what you do. All right. So, always like to open up my thing using my Psychic Soul Healer deck. Here we go. And the reason why, because again, we're looking at the psychological and the emotional energies. And I wanted to do, like, let's just say, the 6-card spread of self-healing. I'm looking at my workbook. And that's a pretty quick one. And it's like the first card represents what the emotional blocks or issues from the past are limiting your growth. So let's see. Tactlessness. So again, tactlessness can come out in many different forms. It can come out in our addictions. It can come out as, again, our self-esteem being really not where we're embodying our true self. It's where we're taking on a persona, and that persona is not really in alignment with our true self because maybe we don't know who we truly are. And that's really what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like a lot of you guys, not that you don't know what you'd like, but it's what your soul's path is. What is your contribution to humanity? What when you wake up in the morning stirs up your soul that you want to actually live? A lot of people don't know what that is. And that's what I'm feeling. Again, for the people that are supposed to be tapped into this reading. Because again, this is a universal reading on healing and on your self-healing. And the self-healing is the psychological and the emotional. So it's asking, what are the emotional blocks that limit? So tactlessness is all about a lower consciousness, and that means not coming from your true authentic self, coming from a survival mode. Because when we live in survival, our behaviorisms are all about ourselves, and they are tacky because we're living from our addictions a lot of times because it doesn't feel good to stay in survival mode for long periods of time. It creates chemical imbalances. It creates emotional imbalances. You're an energy being. So again, we're clearing your energy with this reading. This is what this is. This is a 6-card self-healing from the Psychic Soul Healing Oracle deck. All right, so that's number 1. Okay, the second card represents how this emotional block affects relationships with others in the past. Well, if we only care about ourselves, then we're going to seem like we're not as engaged. We're going to seem as if we don't care as much. People are going to perceive us to be cold and uncaring when that's not really true. A lot of times we're just protecting our heart. Again, if you're living in survival mode, there's only two energies, love and fear. So when we break it down, tactlessness is, again, living in survival mode. Let's take it down to the basic, because that covers everything. That covers your addictions, that you know what they are. Release attentive and repressed nature. So this tells me of wanting to let it go, but then also not wanting to, like trying to like control. So really how it affected your past relationships is when you don't really open up your heart, you want to control the relationship, right? It's all about, you're still coming from a survival standpoint, which is more, again, a selfish standpoint. And there's a part of you that knows this and wants to do it, is what I'm feeling. And if you're here, actually, and you found this video on some level, you want to heal yourself. And you want to know, what is the spiritual blocks? Well, again, the spiritual blocks is not coming from an authentic self, coming from a fear-based consciousness. And a lot of times, like I said, I'm feeling because you weren't able to create yourself. So when other people tell you who you are, and you try to live from that level of consciousness, you're not embodying it, you're emulating it, but it's never going to feel genuine. Your perception of who you are is off. So the way that you deal with people is going to be off. All right. So, and then the card number 3 represents how this emotional block is affecting your relationships in the present moment. Release fear and ancestral karma. So again, maybe the same behavior, like when you grow up in a family where you were taught that you weren't good enough. And that might not even been expressed. It might have been just the way that you were treated. And from a child's perception, it might not even be accurate, because when we're children, we're sensitive. So it doesn't really matter how the wound was created. A lot of times we want to know, our ego wants to know, but is that information important? No, not necessarily. We could actually get caught up in the story and stay victim to the story, when really all we want to do is release the ancestral karma. And that means the behaviorisms, the habits, because every action creates a reaction. That's how our karma is, right? If you plant corn, you get corn. That's the way that it goes. So in order to release the fear and ancestral karma, you have to say, well, what were the tacky, and tacky could be that maybe when you speak with a lot of profanities. Maybe you take on a tough persona. Again, a lot of times trauma plays out as like a mask, but sometimes that mask could actually be a persona, that someone acts as if they're tough, right? And again, I know when I was growing up, I would see that my mother would act like my grandfather. And my grandfather was a fireman that had a dirty mouth. He had a dirty mouth and he spoke crudely. And my mother took that because trauma can do that. It's like you begin to become conditioned in the environment. So you don't realize that you begin to use the same words. You soon behave the same way. And so that's persona is a mask. But understand where the mask is, there's supposed to be an identity, So when there's tactlessness, it's because we don't know who we are. We don't start off in a place of wanting to be bad. No one wants to be bad. At the root, we're all born innocent. There's no such thing as prejudice. There's no such thing as divide. There's no such thing as anything except for love, right? So we have to get back. What is love? Unconditional love is God. It's that vibration. It's the universal panacea. So we have to look at our ancestral karma and see where where do we need healing. So I'm feeling like, again, not coming from true, our true self. And you have to say what's going on in the planet right now. And this is great for that, because this is a general message. So in every single culture, in every single part of the planet, someone has been persecuted at some point. They've been segregated, they've been persecuted, they've been, victimized. So there's a lot of anger. And so when we release fear, you're actually also releasing anger. You're releasing all the lower emotional energies, such as shame, victimization, betrayal, all parts of, again, of self that feels detached from other people. So what you're being asked to is to look deep into yourself and say, where in my life am I prejudiced? Am I creating like separation? Where in my life do I hold judgment? And this means even includes yourself. Where in your life are you like treating yourself badly? So a lot of times tactlessness comes in many different forms. So remember that. So it may not be that you're mean to people. You may not be selfish. In this story, again, the person was selfish. Trauma does that. We're not awake of how we are treating other people. We're in survival mode. But understand that came from the environment. That was that person's reality, even if no one else felt like it was the reality. So release fear and ancestral karma. Feeling like there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of addiction, there was a lot of just selfish behavior. But understand, on a deeper level, what does that mean? It means poverty consciousness. It means not having enough, not being good enough. Like all these false perceptions, because you haven't created yourself. And that's an inside job. That's not an outside job. That's not going to be through, changing your hair color, or gaining 50 pounds, losing 100 pounds. It's not going to be through anything outside of yourself. You can't buy it. You can't, become it. You have to become it. You have to, it's an inside job. But when I say become it, like, it's not by, going out and buying fancy clothes and making people perceive that, you have it all together and that your life is all together, because eventually people will see the flaws of that's not true. And that would become a sickness of trying to keep up that false perception. To keep up a mask, it's a lot of work, and it cuts you off from people, right? So that's a form of tactlessness too, right? I mean, especially if we're coming from a place of survival and lack, then we're probably not doing things in the upright and the most positive way. So we're living in times we're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of, a lot of injustices throughout, where people just don't feel safe. Like, people aren't getting along with each other because everyone has different opinions. So what you're seeing is a lot of emotion. And what is, trauma response is to be emotional, because every single person that's experiencing what they're experiencing, it's their reality. But their reality is a lot of times not 100% based on what's happening in the present moment. It's because we filter everything through what we've experienced, our perceptions of who we are. So, which a lot of times, unfortunately, that's based on the experiences that we live, that other people tell us who we are. That's why in the Bible it says, don't let the world tell you who you are, because it's very easy to be around someone that tells you that you're not worth anything, that you're not good enough, that you're not lovable. And understand, people are not just tactfulness. People just don't live from that survival mind. However, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you've inherited these behaviorisms and these habits that are in alignment with that type of energy. You have to self heal yourself. And that's by shadow healing, and that's by looking at the behaviorisms of your family that you don't like, that you can honestly look and see, do you have those? I have to be honest with you. I did not get along with my mother at all. My mother created a lot of trauma for me. I She drank when she was pregnant. She smoked when she was pregnant, and I was born with ADHD. I was born with sluggish cognitive tempo, where I can't focus for long periods of time. So I was considered really stupid for a long time, and that was an embarrassment. And because that was an embarrassment, I was expected to, you know, not like I was not deserving of anything. So I had to steal. I felt like I had to steal in order to be accepted, to be loved, to fit in, because I thought that the answer was outside of me. And the whole time, my environment was what was making me sick. It's like, and understand that wasn't because my grandparents were bad people. My grandfather fought in World War II. There's a lot of ancestral karma there. So, ancestral karma teaches people to live in survival mode. And when a person lives in survival mode and they keep reliving the same traumatic experiences, that they're looking through distorted filters, per se. And it's almost like trying to drive a car with mirrors that are distorted. What you're seeing is not really 100% what you're seeing, but your actions are going to be in alignment with what you see. So you have to say, I I know that I have whatever those traumas are, or those behaviorisms are, whether they're addictions, whether they're um, not being present, not showing up. I mean, anything could be, because again, this is a general reading. So again, but you can do the healing yourself, where it's to say, okay, what were the behaviorisms and habits of my parents that I did not like, and what have I inherited, and how is it affecting my life? Because if you're someone that suffers from addiction, and then you don't have a lot of money, or you feel like you're never financially in a good place, you have to say, is the addiction part of that? Or where is your free time going? How are you creating yourself? Because a lot of people say, why do I need to self heal? Well, you need to self heal because the same experiences keep happening. This is what a karmic cycle is, that it can happen every 7 years, it can happen every 12 years, it can happen every 15 years. A karmic contract is one that before you incarnated into this earth, you agreed to learn that lesson, that spiritual lesson. So a lot of times you'll look at two people that stay together and you're like, how did they stay together? They hated each other. Well, that was a karmic contract. They were like almost like binded. They felt like they needed each other in order to really learn. And a lot of times the lesson is self-love, because we shouldn't be suffering when we're connected to someone. There's a bigger reason to why we want to self-heal, because in the Bible it says what we resist persists, which means If you don't heal it, you're getting it again because you're an energy being. You are holding on to that consciousness of fear, and you are a magnet of who and what is coming into your life. So we have to release the fear and the ancestral karma. Otherwise, like that's what's going to block you from your success. And for a lot of you, it's I don't even feel like it's relationship. I feel like it's making your life work. To be honest with you, because when I see a root chakra imbalance, I mean, that's what that is. That's not feeling supported. That's not knowing who you are. That's living from the survival that your nervous system over time will get burned out. There's a reason why the saying says stuck and stupid. It's like fear creates that because you're not in a logical standpoint. Your mind isn't made that way to reason when you're living in survival mode. It only cares about surviving and then deals with the consequences later. So again, needing to release the family karma is huge. Okay. Then we want to look and see lessons to be learned from the emotional block is the next. Because again, once we integrate the spiritual lesson, what did we learn? You know, so Promethean fire. So Promethean fire is that emotion that stirs up inside of us, right? And if it's not channeled right, you will take a person's head off. Like the Promethean fire is that. So when we have ancestral karma that needs to be cleared, and this is clearly here, learning to release it, that Promethean fire can also be channeled into purpose. Like we create our own heaven on earth through, again, the thoughts that we think, the emotions that we have. And so it's about channeling all that raw emotion, which happens when we have trauma. There is a lot of suppressed emotion. So utilizing that emotion and channeling it into your, you know, into your passion. That's how we change, right? It's because you have to say, well, what happens with the energy? You're an energy being. So your energy needs to circulate through you. If your energy isn't circulating through you, you can feel it. You feel stressed, you feel whole tension in your body. It's just what happens. So a spiritual block is known as stress, or like you can actually be felt as like a knot. And so when we hold it in certain parts of the body, well, it's again, your energy needs to circulate because the air around you, the universe that's around you, is also known as spirit. And when you breathe in spirit, which again, we all need to, because again, that is oxygen. Oxygen, another word for it is spirit. So it needs to be able to circulate through you so it works through you. But again, if we are holding on to these energies of anger, and so a lot of times we grow up in families where we were conditioned to just live the same way, think the same way that our parents did, but they were imbalanced. So, so there's behaviorisms that are in alignment with that. So we need to release them. And in releasing them, part of that is to release the emotional energy that's stored up there too, because there'll be anger, there'll be hurt, there'll be like a lot of different emotions. But our Promethean fire is the passion inside of us. That is what changes our life, that it takes on a whole other energy, to be honest with you. And really this energy is it's felt through to every single person that you'll come in contact with. You'll become a magnet of that passion. You become passion because Promethean fire is all that emotion that's stirred up, but you're channeling it into purpose, which is something that means something to you. So I'm feeling for a lot of you guys, like in order to heal it, that some of you guys will become like therapists, some of you will become healers, some of you will become spiritualists, some of you will actually become like investigators in crime. Like I'm feeling a lot of people will channel this energy into their, into their purpose. Now, no, again, money has no energy except for the energy that you're given it. That's abundance, which is the opposite of, again, tactlessness. So when you're releasing the fear and ancestral karma, what you're doing is you're actually transmuting the negative energy. You're able to see a different perception of your situation, one that actually gives energy instead of taking energy from you. Because when we have a spiritual block, we feel drained, we feel tired, and because it keeps us up in our mind. The Promethean fire is all about grounding your passion, taking that pain and putting it into purpose. And that's how we really release the fear and ancestral karma, is to see our life different than our parents. And then, okay, and then the last one would be, represents the guiding spiritual principle to be followed in the future for self-healing. So what you would need to do after, and this is just one example from the Psychic Soul Healer Oracle deck. I wanted to like just show you guys the obscurity. So like needing to, like, what represents the spiritual principle would be that you can't come from a place of lack. There's the energy of lack comes from character. You have to say, how are you generating obscurity? Well, fear. You're coming from a place of fear. It's again, and that would show up within your behaviorisms of tactlessness. So that can look like anything because it's a general message. So I feel for some of you here, it's because of, maybe too much partying, too much like living from your emotions, living from your addictions, living from your lower self, not knowing who you are, which is what I had said earlier. When we come from a home that is in balance, where our parents didn't know, they're going to teach us the best way that they know how. And the way that they know how was to, emulate, go out, get a job, go to school, get good grades, figure out who you are, do what everyone else does, fit in. And it doesn't really work that way. You have to find yourself. So when we release fear and ancestral karma, we're doing things altogether differently. We're not coming from a place of survival. We're coming from a place of passion. We're coming from a place of unique individuality. We're coming from, and really, I mean, that's from passion. Promethean fire, just to sum it up, is passion. Because when you're doing what you love, you're becoming the vibration of unconditional love. You're connected to other people. That energy of passion is how you're able to live your bliss. When you live your bliss, you're not living from a left brain logical mind, which is how your parents lived, again, or how you were conditioned to live because of a falsehood of that you weren't enough. So when you believe that you're not enough, of course you're gonna, because your behaviorisms are gonna be in alignment with that, which means all about yourself and doing things a little bit shady, because you need to like release fear and ancestral karma. Now the universe and the world collectively is going through this shift where we're seeing like a lot of changes. And whenever there's a shift, if the foundation of a person isn't strong, well, you're going to see like the obscurity, places in them again where they don't feel like they're enough, places where they've actually detached from. Wherever we feel that we're not enough, it doesn't feel good to stay in that place. So understand, you can always feel that you're enough when you again raise your vibration to this energy of passion, becoming passion. When you do that, you are at the highest vibration. You attract everything that's in alignment to that energy. So you may not per se be able to uh, have your dream job the next day, but you will have steps, have attracted steps, whether that's people, situations that help you get to that passion, to help you get there. And depending on how much energy you're putting into it, which is how much passion you have for something, well, that's how it's going to grow. The key is the passion shouldn't be another person, which a lot of times, this is what happens too when we inherit fear and ancestral karma. When we're talking about relationships, we're talking about codependency. So, again, by becoming yourself, creating yourself, this is a way of self healing, which you have to do anyway. But and you actually kill every single bird with this one stone. It's not even one, two birds. You kill every single bird, and the reason why is because your passion, creating your passion, keeps your mind focused on where you want to go and what you want to do. It allows you to continually attract the people and situations into your life that are going to help you get there. That's number one, because you become more grounded and observant to seeing what the universe brings you, because the universe doesn't just work through you. Again, it works through your environment. So you being interactive. That's number one. Number two, it helps you emotionally. Your choice of focus is your greatest tool when dealing with your insecurities of, again, worrying, am I going to make it? Am I enough? Am I good enough? Again, which are all the energies of obscurity, right? Obscurity of feeling like I'm not enough. And that's what keeps playing out in some form or another. And really, no one can make you feel that way unless you haven't, like, really don't know who you are. So codependency, getting into a toxic codependent relationship where the person makes you feel like you're not enough because maybe emotionally they don't give it to you. So that this is where, understanding codependency is usually that one person is giving emotionally and giving a lot of time and is nurturing and, wants it back, and the other person just kind of pays the bills, but they've checked out emotionally. So, like, we can't be in that type of a relationship if we filled our own cup up, right? If our own cup is overflowing, we would notice whether a person was giving us breadcrumbs, right? It wouldn't be enough. We wouldn't want it. And we wouldn't tolerate it because it wouldn't feel good to have anyone in our life that made us feel small. If our life was big, it would just feel kind of wrong. We kind of laugh at that person too, to be honest with you. So this is why I said, and by becoming what you do and what you love, the universe knows what you need. So there's always opportunity um, for a career in what it is that you're doing, an opportunity to make money, an opportunity to make new friends. And if it's not a job per se, it'll connect you to people that will get you a job. It's the way that the universe flows. So in order to do this, you'd have to, again, release the tactlessness. And here I would say, again, it is about not knowing who you are and possibly falling into a codependent relationship, because Promethean fire is also that passion, right? And that can be confused as lust. But here we're saying, no, 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 we want to use all that emotional energy. We want to channel it into your purpose, filling up your cup so that it overflows, so that you heal this obscurity, and you release the fear, because what you're seeing is like you've creating yourself, and that the universe is supporting you, that you don't need to know everything in advance. That's not how it goes. It goes only in the now do you get divine guidance. The illusion that you can set things up for your survival, that you're going to be okay, is the illusion. This is what we need to release. It's like the knowing that we need to do it. And it's because, again, it just keeps us in a low vibration. So it was your self-healing message. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. All right, now I'm going to do some messages on just if you're connected to a person, what are their hidden truths? What are their spiritual blocks? What are the triggers between you and them? What they're planning on doing about it? Okay, let's jump right on in. This is going to be a general message, again, just like the first message was. You know that energy is fluid, so roles could be reversed. Just interpret the message as best resonates for you. Never interpret the message as, never interpret it like you have to, like it's yours if it's not yours. Don't force it. That's what I meant to say. Don't force it. Take what you need, leave the rest. All right, let's look into the hidden truth. This is with you or the person that you're connected to, their hidden truth. So if you're here for, it doesn't matter what zodiac, we just wanted to know what the hidden truths are. Okay, I'm so attracted to you. So your person is very attracted to you. I love you. See, I feel, but even though like I'm feeling like I see these words, I'm so attracted to you, I love you, I feel like that this person has not put in that much time. I feel like there's a lot of imagination of who they perceive you to be because they're so attracted to you. And I only say that because it's like I don't really feel like I'm feeling like whoever this is, they haven't put in enough time. So it's almost like you might be shocked to feel that they even think that about you. Or you might be like, I can feel that they do, but their actions are not in alignment with that, is what I'm feeling. We both know I am not the one for you. And that's what I felt. I felt like that they are attracted and they do love you, but they don't feel like they're good enough for you. But they don't try. They don't try. And it's almost like I feel like they want to make sure that if they are with you, that you're going to be with them fully. They're like, it's like they don't want to take any chances. So what I don't like about this is I feel like it's being fueled by passion, and there's a lot of strategizing. The person doesn't have their heart open. As a healer, I'm going to have to point out like the blocks. I feel you even though we are apart. So it's, again, there's a soul connection here. Again, ESP is through the heart and mind. We can feel when our person is around us. I feel as if your person knows that if they're going to be with you, that they have to do work. And they're not so sure that they want to do it. People get comfortable. We get comfortable being uncomfortable a lot of times. And this is what I'm feeling. Like they have a lot of feelings for you, but they haven't put the time in. So, and you might be like, well, I did talk to them. I feel like you've talked to them, but I don't feel as if this ever got off the ground. I don't feel as if you ever really went out and dated this person. I don't feel as if they were consistently in your life. I feel as if they came in, they came out, they came in, they came out. And, they don't normally form an emotional bond, but they actually have an emotional bond with you. So they feel that they're in love. But the problem is they haven't put the time in, so they don't really know who you are. And so the illusion of who you are is different from who you are. So, and then it's almost like they're afraid to get to know you because they're like, well, I don't really feel like I'm good enough. But they're confused, and they're confused because they're like, but I can still feel you. So it's almost like they're trying to convince themselves that they don't like you. They want to convince themselves that, because that normally doesn't happen. So they don't like feeling vulnerable. They don't like feeling weak. I want to tell you how I feel, and this is something that they've never done. I feel like, again, they've always hid their feelings and their emotions from you. Because they like having the upper hand. So that's why I'm saying I'm feeling as if, like, yes, they will come back to you, even though that you're apart. They can feel you. So even though this spiritual connection, they're putting a lot of energy into, like, acting like it's real time that they put in the 3D, and it hasn't. So the problem with this is there's a lot of imagination going on, and when it's fueled by passion, it would go fast. So what I'm telling you is you would need to set certain boundaries up with this person. um, I don't even want to look and see what they did, to be honest with you. I want to see what else that they're going to do. Because whatever they did, I feel like in the past, they didn't really know what they wanted. I don't know why they never gave this a chance. I can ask. But as far as right now, what it looks like is that they can't stop thinking about you, that they tried to walk away. I'm feeling like they were invested with somewhere else. And they're not commitment. They don't like commitment. So they don't like commitment. They were attached somewhere else, and they usually don't form emotional connections. I find you incredibly attractive. Here it goes again. See, this is what. So normally you'd be like, yeah, that's great. Like, they're so passionate about me. Yeah, but passion without respect, passion without trust, because they haven't taken the time. It doesn't mean that they even know. They would think I am being respectful, but because they're afraid to open up their heart, they haven't given. And so what's fueling this is the attraction. It's not um it's not like they've gotten to know you. So attraction, we know it lasts for a certain amount of time. There's always a honeymoon phase in every relationship. You're looking for a relationship that goes the distance, I feel like. And I am a healer, and this is a wound healing type of channel. So yes, they are very attracted to you. Yep, they find you incredibly attractive, to the point that they think that they love you because they can't stop thinking about you. And they feel bad about the way that they treated you. I feel like there's a lot of changes going on in their life, but they mainly want to talk to you because they feel bad about the way that they treated you. And they've thought by now that, they were able to always walk away from every single other relationship before, and it never really bothered them. They've never had such a strong spiritual connection before. And that's scary for them because they're used to not feeling their emotions. So they try to talk themselves out of, liking you. And part of it is because they know that they have to change. Another part of it is they're afraid that they're, not good enough. Or even if they change, you won't like who that they will change into. So there's all these perceptions, which again shows me that your person, like, was around people that made them feel not good about themselves. Because the people that are strong, they come in and they're strong, they act strong. They don't, watch people from afar, which is what I feel like your person does. Like, they stalk you out on your social media, and That's how why they might have pictures of you from you and them talking maybe at one time, but they're not in your life now. It's again, but they can still feel you. And so they're thinking, well, I have all these feelings stirred up in me now. And, I want to come and like rush in and tell you how I feel. But, I don't know if like I'm good enough for you. So I feel like they may not, though they might rush in, they want to kind of tell you like everything about like their life and kind of like intuitively play you out. Like this person's very insecure. So that's why again they like almost in their mind had a relationship with you. They're giving so much stake to this 3D connection, but that's again, that's not there. I still have growing to do. So they again they know it. They know it because they can see how you live. Like I feel like this person observed you for a long time. It's again, there was somebody that finds you intriguing because usually they would have lost interest by now. And they put a lot of time and energy into you without realizing it. So you might have not even been part of that where they talk to you. But I feel like, again, how we manifest is how much time, energy, and focus you put on something, right? And this person, like, obsessively from afar thought about you because I feel like they weren't really happy with their own life, to be honest with you. And even though they were making it work, so part of them was like, maybe I can still feel comfortable living from this lower aspect of myself. You are always on my mind. Well, because this is like a soulmate connection that a lot of times, unless a spiritual lesson is learned, we can actually stay stuck and fixated on this person. That's what I feel like your person didn't give you the time. And now that like you're not in their life, this is all that they can think about, which is also a problem because it's like, are they ever really present in the relationship that they're in that moment? Because they didn't give into the relationship when you wanted it. And so not until you left. But then again, it's so fueled by what you look like and the persona of who they think you are, but that's not really who you are because they haven't taken the time to get to know you. So this is how they know that they still need growing to do. They still like whether or not they want to play that committed part, whether they want that type of relationship. There's a part of them that just doesn't like that type of relationship, hasn't had good experiences with that type of relationship, stay connected to someone that I feel like they didn't even have emotional connection with for a long time. However, it became codependent. And then connected through guilt, connected through manipulation, guilt, betrayal, a lot of these lower energies, right, that can keep us bound to a like trauma bond, which keeps the person stuck in a thought pattern of believing that they're not lovable, that they can't be loved, that they're never enough, that they're not good enough because the person that they're with makes them feel that way because emotionally they were never able to really give or show up. So whatever it is not good enough. So what happens is that your person checks out and then they check out where they may physically be in the house, but they're not doing anything with the person that they're with. And if they were with you, they would not really do as much with you either. There is always that their mind is somewhere else, that they're disengaged. That it's and that's a trauma response. So it's like even though that they have these feelings for you, my fear is that emotionally they may not be able to give you what you need. And they know this. That's why they're like, we both know I'm not the one. I like I need I feel like I can feel you because emotionally I can feel you, and normally I don't feel anything, but in that, that makes me have to look at my emotions and realize that I have growing that I need to do, is what I feel like. I pulled away because I am overwhelmed with all of the things that are going on in my life. And I feel like for a long time, the person was able to wear a mask. And again, that you represent change. You look different. This person, like, I feel like they were connected to somebody else that they didn't really, that they were existing. It was more like a sham, held together with money and other things. And it just wasn't good. And I feel like their relationship, whatever it is, fell apart. And now they're like obsessing about you, to be honest with you. And they and understand that even though they, had to pull away, they didn't want to pull away, that they still had those emotional feelings, but I feel that they put on a facade of who they wanted you to believe that they were. And unfortunately, the person that they were connected to, that codependent relationship that they were bounded to, that's more like a trauma bond, um, like they had money invested with this person, they have this stuff invested in. So, in the fact of leaving and really becoming their own person, like would be really really hard to do, and I feel like they didn't want you to see that part. They didn't want to share that part with you. It's again, they played a role, and that role was to make you perceive that they were better and more attractive than actually who they are, because they don't feel that they're good enough, not because you would, but because again they were living from their ego. And now their life is like falling apart where they're at. So there's a part of them that wants to share everything, that needs to share, that needs a friend. I feel like this person doesn't really have any friends around them now either. So there's a sense that they're really alone. I dive in and out of relationships. So it's again, they were, that's what they did. When before they met you, and before this relationship like ended, whoever they're codependent with, they were codependent with that person, but they were in a relationship, and then another relationship, and another relationship, a relationship every single day. I feel like they had that person at home that was taking care of them, that kind of knew what they were doing, but was kind of lying to themselves, and was very resentful at the fact that they were doing it, but they were in this codependent thing. And I feel like your person, like, they met you when they were like in this player energy, and that's not really who they are anymore. They're not that person. So but they were getting their emotional needs met by other people. And if you would have been with them, you probably would have been part of that, but you never were. So they, I feel like, stayed in your life, just kept coming in and out of your life. So in the fact that you're still there, there's a sense of, and they can still feel this connection. They're realizing the type of connection that this is. But understand, this is not the norm for them. They normally don't get an emotional connection. They mainly just look at the passion. They only are led by the passion, not the emotion. And so they they know that this relationship is different because they can still feel you. They want to know, why do I still have feelings for you? It's like that doesn't happen. There is a third party, and that's what I was saying about that codependent, and that's what I felt like. That third party is kind of talking in their ear. They know that their person does not want to be with them. They don't care. Their way now is to just manipulate them and to try and make them feel guilty, shame them, manipulate them, make them feel, and feeling as if, your person is getting tired of it. Like, I feel like it did work for a while. And I also feel like your person wanted to fix the issue with this third party. They wanted to fix it not because they love this person, but because they're just too difficult to get out and knowing. And I feel as if the third party was so angry that they could feel that somebody else was there. They just lured them in and just wasted their time. And you know whatever your person thought was going to be light, was if they're going through a divorce, whatever, like, again, dividing a business, thought that this codependent toxic like bond that they're in was going to be nice. Well, they're not going to be nice. They just pretty much did that to tie them up with their time, to make sure that they couldn't go anywhere, to make sure that whoever was there would leave, and then lured them in and tried to destroy them. So what I also don't like about your person is that they haven't put in any time with you. They're wrapped up in that. And so I'm afraid that they're going to come back to you when they're broken twin flame, but it's a twin flame relationship between you and them. And that's what the karmic doesn't realize, because the karmic is like, what the fuck? It's like, already, it's like, I've done everything, every trick in the book. And normally, I'm able to manipulate that I can keep my family together, is what I'm feeling. But your person is not in love with this person. They feel guilt, they feel shame, they feel responsible, they feel a lot of different things, and the person connected to them is doing a lot. But twin flame relationship, it's like that trumps any karmic, and that would be what would have to happen, right? That's what would have to happen in order for your person to get out of this. Now, whether you go with them or you don't, that's a whole other story in itself. But in their mind, they're having a relationship with you right now to escape the bullshit that they're in, but they may not be giving you a damn thing. So the relationship is in the 3D. They can still feel you, but understand their focus is on that, to the point that that's what's helping them get out of the situation that they're in. Obstacles, but again, that third party is putting every obstacle is in their way to try and like slow them down, because they know that it's only a matter of time that your person is moving out, is moving on, and they're afraid. They're afraid. They thought that by now that things were going to be different, that they were going to be able to manipulate. So if you're not feeling your person, it's like they're in a whole like shitstorm with this person. Please don't move on. So your person is like, I know that it's taking a long time. They hope that when they come back that they're able to explain to you, because I feel as if they stayed longer, again, that they tried to resolve things for a while, and so they're nervous at that because they didn't know what to do. So they went back to try and resolve it to make their life easier, and they were tricked. And so they're not just tricked, but everything that they had built with this person is collapsing, is what I'm feeling. And so that third party is just making it so that when your person leaves, that they leave poor, and they leave where they're so broken that they can't recover. And when I dream of you. So it's, again, this is why I'm saying, like, they're in that headspace where they're just focused on you, even if they're not giving you anything. It's like I'm almost feeling like you give them hope. You're giving them hope, even though you'd be like, I'm not doing anything. I'm it doesn't matter. It's the fact that they're focused on you. They're focused on you. They're going through a traumatic experience. They're trying to leave. They're, they tried to fix it. Then they tried to, I think that your person's so confused because they, got into this relationship to begin with. I don't really even feel that they ever really, I feel like they just went along with everything. So, and they let other people run their life for such a long time, and that they were able to live this way. But somehow, them meeting you made them realize how off that they were living. And even though that they tried to stay, they didn't give that person anything. So that's what made again that third party go ballistic, because so usually by now when they would stray, they would, be back. They would come back and play happy little family, and she would feel like she or he would feel um, that they always win. That they always win. It doesn't matter. He or she strays, but I always get them to come back into the family, because I know that they love me, even though that's not really the dialogue. That's a dialogue that they want to believe, but this connection is completely toxic, and your person has become aware of that. And but even though they become aware of it, they're trying to get out of it. But even though they're trying to get out of it, the person is throwing one obstacle after the other. But what's amazing is the love that they have for you, or that they think that they have for you, is actually what's making them hold hold still and not caving and not giving to this person, even though this person's creating that karmic is creating a lot of health for them. So I'm going to leave that there. Now, if you resonated with this, let me know. And I hope that you enjoyed the healing part of this reading. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.